Throughout history, the warrior has typically been a revered symbol of masculinity and strength, while today, the warrior archetype is a more controversial figure, as historically many people have suffered under its shadow, bipolar form. As with all things in nature, expressions of the warrior archetype can be interpreted in terms of the principle of polarity. According to the Hermetic's natural law principle of polarity, everything is dual, everything has poles. It explains that in everything, opposites are really only two extremes of the same thing with varying degrees between them. Archetypes, energies, good versus evil, all reside on a polar spectrum. In their book, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, Jungian analysts Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette examine the polarity manifested in the warrior archetype, arguing that the warrior has a positive role to play. Moore and Gillette assert that we should not approach the warrior archetype with hostility and suggest that, despite its dangerous aspect in shadow form, it should be acknowledged and integrated rather than condemned. They write, "We need a great rebirth of the warrior in our world. Every sector of human society, wherever that may be on the planet, seems to be slipping into chaos. Only a massive rebirth of courage in both men and women will rescue the world. Against enormous odds, the warrior picks up his sword and charges into the heart of the abyss, into the mouth of the dragon, into the castle under the power of an evil spell. The warrior energy shows us a transpersonal commitment. His loyalty is to something, a god or people, a task, a nation larger than himself." Their book asserts that one of the missing elements in today's society is the rite of initiation, ceremony, or passage into manhood that was prevalent in ancient civilizations and tribal cultures. The mentoring and rites of initiation of youth into adulthood had a very specific role within society in order to guide masculine energies into their mature form. Evaluating aspects of the current stage of Western society, philosopher Ken Wilber coined the term Boomeritis as a pathological belief system that is characterized by relativism, narcissism, and an aversion to hierarchy, said to have emerged during the baby boomers, but shadowed and amplified by subsequent generations. We see evidence of this in social media and the pervasive opinions dispersed within popular culture and entertainment. We appear in some ways to have emerged into Huxley's Brave New World, though we are left wanting for authentic expressions of courage. Displays that would once be considered narcissistic are no longer noticed as such, and are expressed at various levels from pedestrian to pathological. Projection is commonplace, and contemporary society itself seems bipolar, where on one hand we see a heightened sensitivity and outcry, while on the other, see how entertainment, combat sports, and media have intensified into more graphic, violent, and sexualized forms. Moore and Gillette write, "Ours is an age of envy. Anyone who dares stand above the crowd is dragged back down." They suggest that what we commonly see today is an increasing expression of what they describe as a shadow hero, which is an immature and subconscious expression of the dreamer Oedipal child. We see that the warrior archetype has both positive and negative expressions, and although it is typically associated with masculinity, there are well-known examples of female warriors both historically and today. There is a value for anyone wanting to delve deeper into the complexities of masculine energies that exist within themselves and to gain greater insight into the polar expressions of these archetypes. History offers countless examples of the positive and negative form of the warrior. During the Sengoku period of Japan of the 16th century, it can be argued that although the daimyo Oda Nobunaga is regarded as the first great unifier of Japan, he also epitomized the shadow warrior for his brutality and blind ambition. Nobunaga is said to have offended even his trusted generals with his bloodlust and cruelty towards women and children caught in the mire of battles for territory. Shadow warriors tend to engage in both sadistic and masochistic behavior, hiding their true emotions and insecurities behind the facade of violence and cruelty. The end of the Sengoku period saw the birth of the legendary Ronin, Miyamoto Musashi, who was undefeated in 61 duels. Musashi is sometimes regarded as the greatest samurai, not only for his renowned skill, but his ethical view towards life that he wrote in his Book of Five Rings. Historians argue that the peaceful era that followed the Sengoku period contributed to a change in the way the samurai were viewed and viewed themselves. We can perhaps look at Musashi as a contrasting philosophical warrior to the previous era that was more characterized by warlords fighting for power. He wrote, "With your spirit open and unconstricted, look at things from a higher point of view. You must cultivate your wisdom and spirit. Polish your wisdom. Learn public justice. Distinguish between good and evil. Study the ways of different arts one by one. When you cannot be deceived by men, you will have realized the wisdom of strategy." The question is, how does this archetype apply to ordinary people, aside from obvious occupations that carry a warrior tradition, such as soldiers, martial artists, or athletes? Moore and Gillette posit that the king, magician, warrior, and lover archetypes exist in all of us to varying degrees, and find expression both in healthy or in shadow forms throughout our relationships, parenting, work, play, and interactions with society and life at large. The polarities of masculine expressions stem from either a healthy integration of boyhood stages of development or negative amplified expressions of shadow forms that we commonly see today. Assertiveness and a sense of mission or purpose is one of the central characteristics of the warrior archetype, and so this energy, when balanced through clarity of thinking and discernment, is available to most people and energizes compassion, courage, perseverance, and direction. Realistic greatness in adult life, as opposed to inflation and grandiosity, involves recognizing our proper relationship to this and the other mature masculine energies. The warrior energy in the positive form is not unique only to men or women of combat, but requires a deep level of self-assessment, introspection, and radical honesty to bring it up from the shadows and into the light. The warrior is often a destroyer, but the positive warrior energy destroys only what needs to be destroyed in order for something new and fresh, more alive, and more virtuous to appear. Many things in our world need destroying: corruption, tyranny, oppression, injustice, obsolete and despotic systems of government. And in the very act of destroying, often the warrior energy is building new civilizations, new commercial, artistic, and spiritual ventures. Although it is over 30 years old now, I found Moore and Gillette's book relevant today more than ever. It was easy to see myself within it, both positively and negatively, and I encourage anyone interested in the Jungian process of self-realization to explore the king, warrior, magician, lover. Links can be found in the description. And if you found this video thought-provoking, please share, like, and subscribe. And thank you for your time.